You have been packing for longer than you realize, not with your hands, not with luggage or boxes or the physical accumulation of objects being sorted into what stays and what goes, but in every other way that matters. In the decisions you have been making quietly, almost without noticing you were making them. In the things you have been releasing, slowly, without announcement, without the dramatic ceremony that letting go sometimes demands. In the standards you have been raising without telling anyone you were raising them. In the life you have been moving away from incrementally with the particular patience of someone who knows the direction before they know the destination. You have been packing, and what is becoming clear now in this specific moment of your specific life is that the bags are almost full. There is a quality to this energy that is different from anything I have felt around you in recent readings. It does not have the weight of something being processed or survived or slowly integrated. It does not carry the particular heaviness of unfinished reckoning. What is moving around you right now is lighter than that, faster, more kinetic, the energy of something that has been held in preparation for long enough and is now beginning to move in earnest toward its own expression. Things are about to become undeniably real, not in the way of difficulty becoming real, in the way of possibility becoming real, in the way of the life you have been building in the imagination, in the private space of your own knowing, in the quiet plans you have not shared with many people because explaining them required more trust than most of your current environments have earned. That life is crossing from interior to exterior, from the inside of you to the actual, visible, inhabitable world. And the crossing point is here. I want to describe the first image because it arrived with an energy I have not encountered before in this work. I see a threshold, not a door, not a gate, not any of the transition images I have used in previous readings. A threshold in its most elemental form, a line. The specific line that exists between one space and another, between one version of a life and the next, between the person standing on the near side of something enormous and the same person standing on the far side of it. And you are standing directly on that line right now, not with one foot on each side, the way people stand in thresholds when they are still deciding. Both feet are on the line, weight evenly distributed, the full presence of someone who is in the exact moment of transition, who is neither where they were nor yet where they are going, who exists for this particular breath and the pure potential of between. This is not a place to stay. A threshold is a moment, not a location. And the energy around you is signaling that the moment of standing on the line is ending, that the weight is beginning to shift subtly, incrementally, in the direction of the life that is waiting on the other side of it. That something in you, some readiness that has been assembling itself over a long period of quiet preparation, has reached the level required to step through. Not leap, not run, step deliberately, with both eyes open, into something that is going to look very different from what you are leaving. Let me talk about what you are packing, because this matters more than any destination I could describe. And what you bring into a new life determines the quality of everything that gets built there. And what I see you carrying, Virgo, what I see you having chosen to place in these bags over the course of the packing you have been doing without knowing you were doing it is specific and it is worth naming. You are bringing your standards, not the performed version of your standards, the ones you have sometimes compromised in order to make peace with circumstances that did not deserve peace, the actual ones, the ones that lived beneath the compromises, that never disappeared even when they were being overridden, that kept sending up signals you kept having to silence in order to get through certain seasons. Those standards, intact, fully intact, are going into the new life with you. You are bringing your clarity. Everything you have learned about what is real and what is performance, about what nourishes and what depletes, about which environments call forward the best of you and which ones slowly, consistently, in ways difficult to prove but impossible not to feel, work against it. That clarity is packed. It is not being left behind as something too heavy to carry. It is the thing that will make the new life navigable in a way the old one sometimes was not. And you are bringing yourself the full version, the one that does not fit neatly into every space, the one that is too precise for people who prefer vagueness, and too deep for people who prefer surfaces, and too honest for dynamics that depend on things not being said. That version of you, the one you have sometimes had to fold down to fit through certain doors, is walking through this next threshold at full height. No folding, not anymore. I see a second image now that carries a completely different register from the threshold. I see money, not as an abstraction, not as a vague, energetic symbol of abundance moving in your direction, as a concrete, specific, material reality that is restructuring itself around your life. And I want to be clear about the nature of this restructuring because it is important that you understand what is actually happening here rather than what this kind of statement is usually made to mean. This is not a windfall. It is not a sudden arrival of resources that appears from nowhere and changes things overnight. What I see is something more substantial than that, actually, because it is something that lasts. What I see is a fundamental shift in your relationship to your own value in the material world, a recalibration of what you are willing to accept in exchange for what you bring, a recognition crystallizing in you and beginning to radiate outward into the actual circumstances of your life, that what you offer professionally, creatively, in whatever form your specific gifts take, has been undervalued in the environments you have been operating in. And you are done accepting the undervaluation. That decision, made or in the final stages of being made, is going to change the numbers, not magically through the specific chain of events that always follows when someone with genuine capability stops accepting less than their work is worth and begins positioning themselves in environments that are actually capable of recognizing what they bring. The bags are packed with that decision. And the new life is built on a different financial foundation than the current one. I want to speak now to the people in your life who do not know this is happening, because I feel them in the energy of this reading. The ones who have a fixed idea of who you are, what you are capable of, what is possible for someone like you, based on the version of you they have known in the chapter that is ending. The ones who have been comfortable with the scale of your life as it has existed, not necessarily because they wish you harm, but because your expansion would require them to update an image of you they have become accustomed to. They are going to be surprised, not gradually surprised, not the kind of surprise that builds slowly enough to be processed in real time. The kind that arrives all at once, when the distance between who they thought you were and who you have become is no longer possible to bridge with small adjustments to their understanding. The new life is going to make things visible that the current one has kept quiet. And some of the people who thought they knew you are going to realize they knew a version, a partial version, the version that was available in a context that did not give the full picture. The full picture is what the new life is going to show, not to make a point, not to prove anything to anyone, simply because full lives, fully inhabited, by people who have finally stepped into the complete expression of what they are, cannot be kept small enough to match what others expected. Let me ask you something that I genuinely want you to sit with. What is the thing you have been wanting that you have not let yourself say out loud? Not the practical thing, not the reasonable, explainable, easily justified version of what you want, the actual thing. The version of the life that lives in the honest, unguarded part of your imagination that you visit sometimes when you are alone and then quickly close the door on, because the distance between it and your current reality has sometimes felt too large to bridge without feeling foolish for wanting it. That thing, the energy of this reading is not telling you that it is foolish. The energy of this reading is telling you that the bags you have been packing, the preparation you have been doing, the person you have been becoming through all of the difficult and unglamorous and often unwitnessed work of the last several seasons has been specifically, precisely in the direction of that thing. You were not daydreaming. You were navigating. Tell me in the comments not what the specific thing is if you prefer to keep it private, but whether you have one, whether there is a version of your life that you know lives in you, but that has not yet made it into the world in its full form. Because I want to know how many of you feel this reading landing in that specific place. The third image comes through now, and it is the most expansive of everything in this reading. I see open land, not wilderness, not something raw and without infrastructure, but land that is genuinely, spaciously, without the fences and limitations of the previous chapter, open, land that has not yet had anything built on it, that is waiting for the specific imprint of whoever arrives to live in it, that will take the shape of what is brought to it, rather than requiring what is brought to conform to an existing shape. This is the new life. And what strikes me most powerfully about this image is the absence of what usually comes with it in these kinds of readings. There is no crowd waiting, no committee of approval, no review process or audition or demonstration of worthiness required before the land becomes yours to build on. It is simply there, already yours. Not because it was handed to you, but because you have been walking in its direction for long enough that the distance has finally closed. You have arrived at the edge of it, and the building can begin. Not the careful, understated, keep your head down building of the previous chapter. Something else, something that matches the actual scale of what you carry inside you. Something that does not require you to make yourself smaller in order to fit into what already exists. Something built to your actual dimensions. For the first time I want to speak to the fear because it is there. I am not going to pretend it is not there or that its presence means something is wrong. In fact, the presence of fear in this moment is one of the clearest signs that what is happening is real. Small things do not produce this quality of fear. The kind of trembling at the edge of something enormous that I feel underneath all the readiness in this energy is the appropriate response of a human being standing at the threshold of a genuine life change. Not the fabricated fear that comes from anxiety creating threats where none exist. The real kind, the kind that comes from standing in front of something that matters. And Virgo, I want to say something to you about fear specifically because your relationship with it is unique. You process fear through analysis, through the identification of every possible risk, every potential failure mode, every variable that could produce an outcome worse than the current one. And this is useful. This is part of how you navigate. But in this specific moment, at this specific threshold, there is a version of that process that becomes a way of staying on the line rather than stepping through. The analysis can run indefinitely if you let it. There will always be one more variable, one more thing to consider, one more piece of information that would make you feel more certain before you commit to the step. At some point, Virgo, the knowing that you need is not in the information, it is in the stepping. The life on the other side of the threshold is not fully visible from where you are standing. It cannot be. That is the nature of thresholds. You only see what is there after you have moved through. And the movement itself, the act of stepping with incomplete information but complete trust in your own capacity to navigate whatever you find, that is what the new life is asking of you. Not certainty, trust in yourself, in everything the packing has prepared you for, in the direction that every genuine instinct you have ever had has been pointing toward. There is one final image, and it is the simplest thing I have seen in any reading I have done for you. I see a bag, closed, straps over a shoulder, not heavy in the way of burden, heavy in the way of something that contains everything necessary, everything chosen with intention. Everything that belongs in the life that is beginning, nothing that was kept out of obligation or fear of empty space or the comfortable weight of familiarity. Just what is needed, just what is true, just what is yours. And the person carrying this bag is moving, not looking back, not in the rigid, deliberate way of someone who has forbidden themselves to look back because they do not trust themselves not to turn around if they do, but in the natural forward facing way of someone whose attention has genuinely shifted, someone whose eyes are on what is ahead because what is ahead is finally more compelling than what is behind. That person is you in this season, right now. The bags are packed, Virgo. The new life is not a dream you are having about your future. It is the future walking toward you while you walk toward it. And the distance between you is closing faster than you think.